Tommy Mallet, welcome to the Without Limits podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, I'm actually proper excited about this. You're a bit of a different guest to people I've had on so far, but very excited. You've got an aura like that you radiate when you walk into a room, and I've seen it through social media. I've been a long time follower of yours for my sins, following from the Towie days.
Yeah.
More recently, obviously, a big interest in your business dealings with what you've done with Mallet London and CTRNE. But like I said, there's this aura, there's this energy that I think is hopefully going to come across in this podcast. And I'm looking forward to this conversation. I always start with asking people what without limits means to them. I actually heard you say the term without limits on a recent podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of came up in conversation. So I think you have this mindset towards anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
So what does without limits mean to you?
I don't believe in limits. I've got limitations of creation of the mind on my chest, tattooed. And I've lived my life by it from the age of 14, when I met a teacher and I was struggling in school. She gave me a postcard and it was a guy standing there with his leg behind his head doing some meditation. And it said at the bottom, limitations of creation of mind. And at the time, because I couldn't read and I was really struggling in school, she was like, you're setting the limits on yourself because you're saying you can't read. Take away the limitation. Ever since then, I've just been able to fly. I don't believe there's any limits. It's just not in my nature.
I mean, there's that self-belief and I guess a motivation that you have that is, like I said, it kind of radiates from the very first moment you walked into.
Did you feel it though?
Yeah, 100%.
Amazing.
There's been a few people that have walked into our office and they are wholeheartedly themselves. You can tell they're comfortable in their own skin and they're just going to be how they are. And there's obviously other people that walk into this environment, particularly maybe a brand like ours with fitness people that sometimes kind of shrink within themselves.
Yeah.
And I think it's a testament to your previous experiences, but like I say, that self-belief in yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Where does that come from? Because on the face of things, someone that couldn't read or write, I've heard you say you couldn't read or write till you were 30 years old.
Yeah.
Bit of a tough upbringing. Those sorts of people don't necessarily have natural self-belief.
I can't read and write again now because I don't take my ADHD medication. So I'm actually back to not being able to read.
When you say you can't read,
I can read like that says like without, well, even that. Do you know what I mean? I've read that and I had to, that M went there. So when I was like, we're at minute what? So I can read like names and I can read like a WhatsApp message. I can make that of it, but anything more than like 3 lines, I can't. It scrambles up.
Is it a concentration thing?
Yeah, I've got ADHD. Yeah, I've got ADHD. So basically, my concentration just doesn't allow me to take note of what's in front of me. So I can't write. I can't read and I can't write. I'm probably a bit better at writing things out than I'm reading it.
When it comes to writing text messages, is that just something like a learned behavior?
No, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm sweet. I can text because it's coming out my head and I'm doing it fast, so I'm not overthinking it. But as soon as I start reading, I'll overthink what the next word is before I'm there, and then it goes to it's just all of a mess. But it's never really held me back that much, and I think that's where this mindset comes from. It's like I refuse to make excuses. I can't. I'm not making any excuses. I refuse. I don't. As I said, I've got no limits. So that means I've got no excuses.
Do you feel as though that's come from more recent success over the last 10 years with Mallet, even being on TV, or do you feel as though you've always had that through a childhood?
I've always had the aura. I know I've always had that, always. But I didn't understand what it was when people used to say it to me because I didn't understand like how I was any different to people. But I always knew that I was different. But I spoke to my dad yesterday about this, funny enough, and I was like, from where my dad started off, is like, he was born 14 years after the war, yeah? So Britain, when my dad was born, was a mess. It was a negative environment. They never had nothing. And it was a tough upbringing for my dad, yeah? So my dad's like goal was to make my life better than what his was. And he done that, yeah? But then my goal now is to make my son's life better than what I had. So that's where I've got like this ambition that comes from, is I'm always looking at trying to make things better for the next generation. I've always been like it. No matter like what's in front of me, I've always had that in my mind. Like, I need to better things. I need to make sure that the next generation's better, and I'm going to be the one to change it. I've always had that mentality. Ever since I heard my mum and dad argue about money quite frequently, and I see my mum and dad's relationship like be tough because of money, I said I'll never allow that. I will be the one to change that. And I could never understand how my dad knew that it was a problem, but didn't try and overcome it. And he explained it yesterday to me. He said his generation was just about providing for the family and paying the mortgage. They didn't have the aspirations to become millionaires. They didn't have all that. Some people might have, but my dad didn't. He said he just didn't have that. But I have. And I want to make a massive difference for my generations to come. And that's what drives me every day. My main fear is saying that I didn't try. I can't do it.
Oh, fucking goosebumps, man.
It scares me, man.
I mean, my biggest fear, and I've said this a lot, when people say what motivates you, my biggest fear is not reaching my potential. And that's what Without Limits means to me. It's like, you got one chance on this earth, and not reaching that potential is like, if you've got a God-given talent or the ability to work harder, like why wouldn't you explore all of that potential as much as you can?
I just don't understand it. It's like, I don't even, it sounds mad. I don't even understand how people can have hobbies that take out so many hours of their day when they should be building. I just believe you need to build and you need to give it all. And then maybe when I'm 60 and I feel like I've done enough, I might be able to get some hobbies and maybe live a normal life. But until then, no. I've got to make it. I have to. I can't leave it with any regrets. I can't do it. And I'm going to push so much harder than I've done now, because I've got more knowledge to make something of myself, and I can't stop.
I hear you. Do you accept though that as your son's called Brody, right?
Yeah.
You got another kid?
Yeah, I've got a little girl coming this month. Yeah, 2 weeks.
Do you think that as life changes, as they grow up, that are you open to the fact that your mindset might need to change around some of those things that you just said?
No, because I don't want my son thinking that he can lay around and he ain't got to go out and go and get it. Like, for example, what I have learned is I can take time out to spend time with my son, yeah? Because I've basically made it this way. There's family and then business. Nothing comes in between that. That's it, yeah? So taking 4 or 5 hours out of my little boy and going to the zoo or all day, for me, is the best thing I can do. Work comes after that. But like going out with my friends and drinking and all that stuff doesn't exist. I don't have that, and I will never waste time doing that. People are going to think I'm mad. It don't happen. Got family and then work. And then I'd like to merge them together to teach my son what it takes to have the life we've got. So things will probably change. I've got a little girl coming. I'm probably going to start doing things a little bit different with her, and probably getting her nails done every now and then. But for now, my life is just about like getting the best of me out constantly. That's what it's about.
I can get behind the statements you made there, because I feel as though what people were expected to do socially before aren't necessarily the same thing. So I feel as though you can create a social environment within the workplace, within the family, and this kind of like work-life balance integration can happen through family and business. It's certainly what I've experienced. It's certainly what a lot of us experience in this business. So I can get behind those latest statements. I feel as though everyone's going to be wired differently, right, to their own version of success and how hard they need to work, and whether it's it's constantly building, etc. I feel as though I've certainly matured. Mature is the wrong word, because I'm not suggesting you haven't matured, but I feel as though my thought process has changed as I've got older, as my kids got older, from like 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, from 1 kid to 2 kids, 2 kids to 3 kids, as I now have. I've realized that my thought process around building, I still want to build the biggest brand that I could, that I can do, but sometimes not at the detriment to seeing kids grow up, experiences with the kids and the family. But I feel as though like I say, your latest statements are kind of in line with.
So my days like this, yeah, and my work-life balance was horrendous. It was like, unless I'm working, don't talk to me. Really struggled with that, because my vision was so stuck on where I wanted to go.
Do you feel that's for fear of not being successful?
Fear of losing it, man. Yeah. Once I got it, I was petrified of losing it. So like, I was like, I've given my family this life. I can't take it away from them. I have to now go and do it.
Did that fear ever stop? Because I felt like that for a long time. I felt like the rug,
because I've lost it all.
The rug was going to get pulled under.
I've lost it all. It weren't that bad. No, I've enjoyed myself. I'm just even more ambitious. But my work-life balance has become, through all of this, is the things that actually benefited. Because me and my son are so close. So like my day-to-day life is this. I wake up at 5, I'll go gym, I'll start work at 8, but I'll make sure I'm home by 5. I won't be rolling in at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. I don't go out and drink. I don't go out for dinners. As soon as I finish that 5 o'clock meeting, I'm home and spending time with my little boy, making sure I'm putting him to bed every night and working out what happened in school, how was school. A few days I'll have a day off the gym and I'll take him to school to see his teacher and things like that. I now have that where I didn't have that before. So my life just revolves around work and my son, as I said. So I've got the perfect balance. I don't talk about business to my missus. I don't work when I'm in the house. I used to have an office in my house and be on the phone constantly. I don't do that. I don't allow that to happen in my house because I don't want my son listening to the way that I have to speak to people to get my point across, because then he thinks that I'm like the general, and I don't want him to know that. I want him to just know that I'm just a normal person. And since I've been doing it, my relationship with my missus and my kids just phenomenal. And it took a lot of loss for me to get there, but I'm finally there. And now I just enjoy everything I do.
I love to hear that. Do you think that some of the not drinking, the socializing element, and we'll just touch on very briefly your kind of experience with reality TV, but do you feel as though that part of your life kind of scratched that itch, like when you were younger?
Do you know what? I think for 32,
would you just sorry to cut you off, would you just advise anyone that wants to build something, huge in this world, and particularly that's got this entrepreneurial spirit in business, there's just no room for anything other than business and family?
I think if I start with explaining partying and business together, they don't match. So if you're in fashion, you're in Fashion Week, you're partying and you're running a business. I wasted so much time by going out the night before, getting ruined, and then not being able to function the next day, yeah? I also don't have an off switch, which means I'll probably carry on and go through to the next day. That, for me, was a problem of my performance, because I'd start eating bad the next day, which then makes my mind work really bad if I have like sugars and processed foods, and I just feel bad. And then also the next day I'm like, why was all them people wasting time? I don't even like none of them people. They're all talking about things I'm not interested in. I don't give a shit what you're speaking about. My vision's that. Don't even talk to me. And that sounds really narrow-minded, but I had years of being on reality TV and being in parties with people who wasn't on the same mission as me. So I wasted a lot of time. So when I started, I think it was when I had my little boy, I realised that any spare time I got needs to be spent in the family, not sitting there telling people where I want to go in my life, because that's how I felt like I ended up being anyway. I felt boring. I'd always just be speaking about where I wanted to go in my life. So for me, the drinking just didn't work. It weren't for me. I don't like hangovers. I feel shit. I can't function for days after. I hate the world. So I was like, knock that on the head. And that's it. It's been the best thing I've ever done.
When did you give up?
So in 32 years, I reckon I've only had 4 years of drinking. So I had a little stint here and there. I stopped for 4 years. And then after COVID, I had about a year, and then I stopped again. And then now I'm a year in with not one drink.
I mean, we've got very similar views to alcohol and all of that. So
it leads me to places I don't want to go, man. I'm like, any bad decision I've ever made, I've made a lot of bad decisions, but even to the point of getting into the car with someone when I know they've had a drink, I would never do that if I weren't under the influence. So I always used to think, fuck, one day I'm going to push it too far. And I don't want to give, I don't even want to give the opportunity to anyone to catch me in when I'm not being 100% me and I'm making stupid decisions. I don't want to do that. And there's more now. I've got a son. I need to take things serious. So that's it. No more alcohol.
It's power. How did you take to the pressures of coming into the public eye with
I was young. I don't really feel like it really pushed me in any different place, to be fair. I feel like I was all right.
You enjoy it?
Yeah, at the start, I loved it. And I like speaking about my experience. A lot of people don't like speaking about their experience if they've been on reality TV, because they feel like they have to move away from the stigma of being on reality TV. For me, I think it made me. It definitely made me, because no one would have knew I was without that reality show. So I got more love for that than anything. I've got so much respect for the opportunity they give me, and I feel that it made me who I am, and I loved every minute of it. And I would never badmouth it, where everyone else just goes, they don't want to have the stigma attached to them, as, oh, that's that guy from Towie. Mate, I don't give a fuck. I loved it.
I think you've gone on to not be defined by it though, right? You've gone on to build arguably more success than any of your peers.
For sure.
Off the back of it. Whereas I think for a lot of them, they have this overnight success, and then they're unsure really beyond the paid posts or the PRs or the appearances. They're unsure really how to monetize and have longevity.
I didn't get none of that though. So that's what I'm saying. So I had to go out and start my own brand, because I didn't really get any work from that show.
Why didn't you get work?
because I was in a relationship. I was different to everyone else on there. It's completely different. And I was a little bit more outspoken than other people, spoken in a different way. And probably for brands, I didn't fit as much. But then my fashion, the way I used to dress got me more noticed. And then I started Mallet off the back of that. So I didn't really go down that PA route where I was known for being that really famous person, but loads of people queue up for pictures. I just didn't experience that. And it's not a bit of me anyway. If you know me, like people know me will know, I don't really do much. I don't really like being in them environments with loads of people. I'm quite a chilled person. I like my best thing for me to do is just like have people around my house and to chill. So when the show happened and it was like all eyes on us, not say me, I'd say us as a show because it was big when I went on there. I didn't really want to be in that big PA scene where I had to go out every single night and have the drinking around me and having birds flinging it on me, because all I ever had was problems when I did do it. So I just sort of cut that bit out. So I feel like my experience with reality TV was a lot different to other people's, because I don't feel like it changed me at all.
At what stage did reality TV and Mallet and Mallet London merge? How did that come about?
Mate, I done it in my first year, you know. So I remember I said to my dad, I was like, Dad, I'm not getting any work on this show. I'm actually really struggling. I'm going to have to go to work. And he was like, I fucking told you not to go on that show. You ain't going to be a bum that just goes around and does club appearances, then it stops. You need to go and make sure you do something. So I was like, all right, fine. So I started, I was collecting sneakers at the time. I was like, let me make a good shoebox which can stack up together and don't fall down. Because in my bedroom, the shoeboxes always used to go like that. And I'd be in bed one night and then they would just fall forward and I'd be covered in shoes, yeah? And I'll never forget when Georgia started standing around my house, I just have to warn her and she'd be like, can't you do something with this? So I was like, I started making racking for shoes because I used to be a carpenter. I was like, no, I need to make a shoebox with some magnets in or something. And I actually went to go and do that. And then that went to becoming a sneaker and then the rest was history. It was after the first year.
You're an inventor.
I've invented a few things, yeah. Yeah, I've invented a few things.
Did you know you had that, like, I guess, entrepreneurial kind of spirit in you at that stage? Problem solver?
Yeah, yes, because I used to sell cigarettes in school from young, like, I think year 7. And then by the time I got to year 9, I'd have someone in each year working for me, selling cigarettes in their forms and all that. So now it's only something small. But I would buy, I think, a box of 20 fags, then was a £5, and I'd buy them in multi-packs and I'd sell them for 50p each. And then I'd end up generating money, and I knew how to generate money from a young age. And I always used to build on that. And I always knew I was going to be successful, always. There was never a doubt in my mind that I wasn't going to be a multi-millionaire, ever. Always knew it.
It's funny how I just assume everyone, because I used to do the same thing with cigarettes. We used to go on quite a few family holidays and I'd always make sure I got the cigarettes at duty free and when I got back. So shoe boxes, problem solving, trying to make one that stacks up, leads to trainers. Like why'd you go to trainers and not fashion if that was kind of your...
Because at the time I'd done a shoot for someone and there was a pair of sneakers there. They was like Saint Laurent sneakers. And I went to buy them and they was like 500-600 quid or something. And I was like, as I said, I'd never had a pot to piss in at the time. So I was like, I want them shoes, but I'm never going to be able to buy them. And I didn't want to be going to like River Island and Top Man and buying shoes from there because I was a sneaker addict. So I was like, I need something which is in a premium space but more affordable. So I started drawing this sneaker and I drew it on a napkin to start with and then give it to someone because I wanted them as a custom shoe just for me. And then next thing you know, they've come and I was like, wow, these are sick. This could be something. So that was it. Ordered 100 pairs and that was it.
How much do you think your personal brand and what happened with Towie impacted the growth?
Oh, I think if you asked me this question a few years ago, I'd have probably been had a chip on my shoulder and said, no, it was just me. But no, of course, the show, you wouldn't have knew me without Towie. I would have just been a guy who was making sneakers. There wouldn't have been much about it, but the way that I've given my life to TV and showed my ups and downs and I've let people live my life with me sort of makes people feel like they're part of the journey, which then wants them to support me. So I've had so much support from the show. And as I said, I'm forever thankful and I'm always thankful for every opportunity I've ever had, the good and the bad. And without that, I would never have been able to do it. Like the Mallet's a great shoe brand. It was great. I put my life and soul, I put everything into it. But if I weren't on the show at the start, I would never have been able to launch it. So I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, it was all me. It weren't. I did have a leg up. I do feel like I had a leg up. But more so, I just grabbed the opportunity with both hands and turned it into something. So at the early stages, it was hard because a lot of people have been like, oh, it's that guy from Towie. I'm not wearing these shoes. All of a sudden, people got to know me and then it just come rocketed. It went so fast.
Mate, I was one of those people. I was like, there's no way I'm wearing them trainers. And I told you, I've still got the trainers at home.
Yeah,
I still wear them.
Mad.
And I must have bought them a long time ago. I mean, there's no doubt that the TV program gave you the platform to launch a business, right? And I think everyone, you put yourself in that situation through the work you've done to get to that stage. I don't think you don't just get handed a gig on TV, right? Mm-hmm. But I think there's something else that's helped you grow and scale that business. And I think it's a spark that you have. Mm-hmm. So how much of it beyond that early stage was that kind of fundamentals? Is it a natural kind of talent in the spark, or were there business fundamentals that you kind of knew about? Most people kind of fake it till they make it and stumble across these principles. I think I did that as
well. But look, I'm being very humble here about the Towie thing. Yeah, the Towie thing gave me an opportunity, give me followers. But when I started Mallet, I only had 100,000 followers. So it did help me. But me going out there and having that relentless drive to constantly do better was the thing that made it. Because I had not really I hadn't got on a plane until I was like, when I was a kid, I used to go on holiday. But then after that, I didn't get on a plane until I was like 18. So I went like at 22, I was fucking traveling to mad places like China by myself and not having a clue about nothing. But my relentless drive would get me into these places and I wouldn't give up and I wouldn't stop until I got what I wanted. And I think at the start, it was like guessing. It was a guessing game. Oh, if I buy that, can that work? And the next thing, you know, I ended up started getting into this. I think it was like 2 years in when I actually started becoming really good at it. I think when I started working with retailers, my marketing abilities was probably better than my design abilities, but I could sell anything. You could give me something and I could put a story to it and I'll just make it work. I can make people want to feel what's next. And I've done that. And then I'd come out about things that people wouldn't speak about. I started talking about mental health on TV when I was 24 and that weren't really the thing 8 years ago. For a man to speak about that. So now I've got this other amount of respect from people that loved me because of that. And then it obviously gave me a bit more like confidence because my audience was growing and then I was selling more. And the more I sold, the more I was like, whoa, this might not be a fluke here. I might actually become good at it. And I think by like 25, I was well on my way for smashing it. I knew that I was different because I was sitting down with big CEOs and they'd be like, "Why, it's something about you." And that was it from then.
The story thing is super powerful, right? Particularly when you're building a brand, like being able to sell that feeling. But it has to be married up with particularly in that premium space in footwear, that's super competitive. Mm-hmm. It has to be married up with a great product. So at what stage does that brand become more sophisticated with expertise around design from a footwear perspective? What were your first kind of hires and the people you had to get around you?
No, I didn't ever really hand it over to anyone. It was always me. I had people that come in, but they'd come from a corporate background and it didn't really sit well with me. I found it really hard to get on with. And when they did come in, it would be like, all right, you need to do this, this and this. And I'd be like, yeah, no, but the market don't need that. And they go, no, they do because of the data. And then when I actually come around to it, I was like, you was actually right. So my vision's better than the data, I think. I sit in shopping centres and I watch what people are wearing on their feet for hours sometimes. And when people would come in and try and like move the ship and take it that way, I'd go, no, it's got to stay there because it's going to end up there. And it would always work. So like my obsession and like I didn't stop thinking about it constantly would drive the business further than what any like business advisor or CEO could ever give me. Because I was on the ground. I was living and breathing and feeling the company. I could feel everything. I'd watch the way people was walking when wearing my sneakers and go, wow, there's something wrong with that. I'd become so obsessed with it. There was no way it couldn't work. It could never not work. I was so obsessed with it.
You find that dynamic tough though, to be starting to surround yourself with other people that might see things differently inside your own company? Like, how do you go about building a team? You said you got to 25 employees.
Yeah, I think at the start you end up being family members and they get it, and then you bring people who believe in the brand and they get it, and then you try and think, all right, well, I can't just have people that just believe in the brand. I have to bring people from bigger backgrounds who can then teach me at the same time. And I got on well with a lot of them, but after a while, you have to sort of, as a creative director or founder, you have to say, no, this is the vision. you can't go anywhere else. It has to stay there. And I think my biggest mistakes was actually letting people mess around with the vision, because then it would go somewhere that I didn't want it to go. But there was so much money involved. I'd turn around and go, whoa, how did we get here? That ain't where we were supposed to go, man. We're not. That's not cool. We need to stay there. But then by the time we get there, you're like, oh, I've gone too far that way. So second time round, I'd be very careful and be very vocal on exactly where this needs to end up. And this is the only way it's going. That's what I would do different this time around.
So you're saying that like some people will come in from a corporate background and it might be like growth at all costs or revenue at all costs or whatever. It's financially motivated, which is juxtaposed to what you're looking for, which is staying culturally relevant with a certain demographic.
Yeah, feelings, storytelling. Someone's coming in and they're going, oh, there's not enough margin in that, man. And I'm like, fuck the margin. It's a sick trainer. I want everyone to wear it. Like, yeah, but you can't because the margin's not good enough. I don't care if I lose. Get it out there, and I want people wearing them. This is my story. I'm an artist. I'm communicating through these sneakers. Make them wear them, and they're like, oh no, but fashion says that you need to do this, and I'm like, fuck fashion. This is how it's going to be. And then the bigger the company gets, even though I'm the main driving force, it's like you end up doing deals with stores that are giving you 12 million quid a season at some points. And you're like, well, they want that, so I've sort of got to give them to it. Next thing you know, you get moved away from why you started. And it's a tough thing to really like to get through. But when there's so much money involved, you end up being a bit more like, well, it must be working. And it only works until it doesn't.
How do you go? Because you're obviously not someone from, I think you've got that entrepreneurial background, right? But if you're not someone that's necessarily obsessed with the numbers and the finances and that kind of things, how do you go about managing that in that growth stage? Or is it just a case of every time it presents itself or we get misaligned with the vision, that's where you're kind of tackling?
I think like I sort of had it a bit flawless the way it was working. It was, you don't spend more than you're earning. That's rule number one. And you don't get like too caught up over margin that you miss a sale. For me, even if I earn a fiver on something, a fiver's a fiver, and I fucking do it. And I kept that mentality throughout. So it would always be profitable. And my profit margins was ridiculous. I think that was at 40% on my exit, which no fashion brand does that. The normal is 10, 20%, I think, or sometimes 30. But on the scale I was doing, it was huge. So I think I actually become quite talented at the numbers side of it as well, which was shocked me. Like in the end, I was quite shocked because people would come to me and I would be like, no, that's not the way it needs to work. Write it down simple and then read it to me. And they would do it and I'll go, no, that's how it needs to work. And it would always work. So you end up picking things up, man. When it's your baby, you do, innit? It's like, you end up becoming better than everyone because you're just so obsessed with it.
What was your like org structure like within your company at its peak in terms of like you were creative director? Did you have a leadership team, people that you were bouncing off? Was there anyone around you? And
I did.
There's going to be a lot of young entrepreneurs, business people trying to start something, grow something. And I think there's obviously a blueprint and there's ways in which people would tell you this is how you're supposed to do it, but I think you're a maverick.
Oh, my blueprint was mad. Don't know about the blueprint.
Well, exactly. So I'm saying, like, what's your perspective on that? Because I think in modern day building business, like there isn't a blueprint. You can do it however you want to do it.
You need to do things and you need to adapt to them as fast as possible. Speed kills. And I want to kill it in everything I do. Yeah?
But you can be agile at 25 employees.
You can.
Would you grow a business to 100 employees?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that 25 was getting tougher, but I still could have done it. Yeah. Because I didn't have, what I had was this, yeah. I had me, and then I had people who had started with me at the brand. So my first employee was still there. He was like a brother-in-law. And then I had like the geezer that done operations. He was a friend of a friend. And they built with the business. They understood how I operated. And they just knew that I was going to come in shouting and screaming sometimes. Take a few notes and just make it happen and we'll make this work. When you get past like 15, 16 people, I had an MD, was my dad. Yeah? Bless him. He was all right, but we got way too big too fast. We went from like 6 million to like 19 million in, I think, 14 months or something. So my dad was like, whoa, but he could run the business well. He was good at communicating. But when you go from having one warehouse to warehouses all around the world, it becomes a bit of a tough gig for him, yeah? I had a commercial director who ended up, he was with me for 2 years. He done an amazing job, but it just ended up not going the way we wanted and he ended up leaving. I employed another commercial director who ended up working against me and helping on me lose it all, actually. The worst thing I ever done. I brought him in to help him and he fucked me. And then I had some key guys. I had a guy in sales, I had a guy in production who was doing operations, and I had a guy in accounts. Them 3 people I would lean on them to get information what was going on, and then I would speak around it with my team, and it would just fly. We didn't need like too many more people, that was it. But I was the one pushing it all the time.
Where do you want it? Let's use Mallet or CTRNE. Where do you want to grow that to? Is there like a revenue target? Like
CTRNE's going to be different. So this is, I can answer the question differently because I find it really hard to answer questions about Mallet. And the reasons being is because I didn't know what I was doing when I was doing it.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what these job roles was. I didn't understand what they brought to the table. I was just a guy that loved sneakers, that started earning good money very fast and just maintained it, yeah? But with CTRNE, it's such a special concept and a special company that I own 100% of, yeah? No, I don't. Sorry, I don't. I own 20% of it. It's such a special business. I need to make sure that I set this up for something that is bigger than me because I feel like CTRNE will be bigger than me and it will last a lot longer than me. So therefore, I can't just be the nutty guy at the front of it building this business. So it's about when people come on, showing them where this business needs to go, showing them why I'm doing it, showing them where I want to go with it, and then per country, bringing in certain people to take care of certain stuff. That's what I'll be doing. I'm not going to go and give someone a CEO title next week, so because it's not there. But what I will be doing is bringing in people who love the brand, who understand the concept of the brand and letting them grow with the brand. So, for example, the Nike CEO now, yeah, he started as I think he was an intern. He's now the CEO. That's where I see this going with CTRNE. But at the same time, I think building the business in America, because of the size of where it's going to go, is where it's going to be at. So just making sure that I take the right advice from the right people with this one. And people have already done it. It's going to be a complete different beast to CTRNE, to Mallet, sorry. So it's all about just really, really being agile, but making sure that I make the right decisions at the same time. I don't want to make any mistakes with this company. Yeah, it's a tough one because until you're in the arena, it's quite hard to know where you're going to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, I asked the question because I think our biggest competitive advantage in our space is that we were able to be so nimble and we can move really quick. Mm-hmm. But now we're at sort of 40 employees across the business. There's different things going on. Like it's much harder for us, mm-hmm. and that's only going to get harder. So I think it's one, playing to your advantage when you're smaller and you can be agile and you can move fast and you can make decisions and they're not going to necessarily bury the business. They might, and some of this is a bit of a gamble. But as you become bigger, particularly with a product like yours, right, you'll need to think about what's going to be released in winter 2025, 12 months ahead. Yeah. It's not like a service-based business. So I think it's just an appreciation that as it grows, those things change. We'll come on to CTRNE a little bit more. Obviously, that's where the excitement, I think, is now in your life. Mm-hmm. What went wrong with Manet?
Look, I think when these conversations made me think about things that I've not thought of, I'm going to be honest with you. Because at the time, when you're running something...
Is that a good thing or a bad
it's good, man. It's good. I don't have any bad feeling towards what's happened. I just don't. It's nice to look at things from a different perspective. And I think the more I've looked into it was probably that I served my time at Mallet because I was so obsessed with what I wanted to make with it. I probably didn't let people get involved as much as they should have, yeah? And when they did, I ended up not liking it. And then I would be the man taking care of everything. And I probably think that could have been my downfall to a lot of extent. And I was just obsessed with what I'd built and knew how far I could take it. But there was a lot of opinions coming from other places, which led me to being unhappy in my business. And I think when you're doing something on a creative level, then you always got to be the upbeat person. When you're going through shit, it shows in your product. And especially on the way that you promote the company. And I didn't want to damage the business. I wanted to have this company to last forever. But I couldn't go forever with it because I had a lot of shit going on with my partner. And I come out of my ADHD in 2022 and I let everyone know that I had ADHD because I was going through a bad time in my life. And I was like, I'm going to go on medication just to make myself calmer. And I think by me telling everyone worked against me, because everyone would be like, oh, it's going off his head. And I felt it getting used against me, where before it was like, yeah, he's a madman, he's unbelievable. It's like, oh, yeah, he's got ADHD, sort of.
Who do you think was using it? People close to you in the business?
Yeah.
Were you given support by like your audience and the people that support you up until that?
My audience was unbelievable, but some people in the business, nah, man. Like, it was a few bits and pieces, and there was a few emails that used to fly around saying, I put up with your mental health problems for long enough. And like, when that happens, you think, fucking hell, man, I've just built all of this and give everyone these opportunities, but as soon as something happens to me, everyone wants to now use it against me, which is a tough pill to swallow, man. And I've felt like I had done so much over the years, and I'd always be the one if something went wrong to be there for everyone. And when it actually happened to me, I didn't feel like I got the support I needed. And I'm not going to sit there like a victim, because I'm a strong character. I don't really need that many people. I can work things out myself. But all I needed is a little bit of time to realise what was actually going on in my head. I didn't need it to be used against me. And when I lost the baby in April 23, I just needed what I had built to just run without me. And I feel like there was more going on in the background. And when you take time out to reflect on things, you think, fucking hell, my little boy is 2 next month. Like, this was back then. I've been driving myself mad in this office to build this business. And as soon as I needed everyone, what's going on? So then I looked at my son, I was like, you need to be priority first. My missus needs to be priority because she's in an absolute mess. So everything can wait. And when I started moving away from things started falling apart around me. And I feel like mine was always for the love of the business and people's weren't. And when you're in that situation, it's painful, man. So I thought, fuck this, I'm out of here. So that was it. Just kicked out.
It's lonely at the top, man. I mean, it's a classic founder story, but I mean, my response to some of what you're saying would be, and I think the lesson you have learned the lesson is, yeah, you want the business to run when you're not there, but it'll only do that if that whole vision piece that you said and like trusting the people around you, it'll only be able to do that if you're able to build something that the same feeling is felt internally as you feel.
100%. And you know what? I feel like I did make a lot of mistakes, and the first one would probably be because of my ADHD is not expressing myself properly. I should have really built a plan and showed everyone in writing on the wall where we was going as a business. And I probably, listen, I hold my hands up, I probably didn't. Changed my mind constantly because I was adapting to what was around me. Like, I led the business going through COVID and went to millions through it. Like, I was constantly adapting to certain stuff, and don't forget, I was still learning at the same time.
I think in that respect, though, the ADHD was your superpower.
It was then,
but without anyone else understanding it, and there being like I used the term blueprint again, but like for them being able to understand your brain, it can't carry on without you being there.
Yeah, but the thing what I've done now is, and which I'm really proud of, I've got people around me who I'll say, look, I'm wired up a little bit different to you, yeah? I will bring you to success faster than most people, but you need to understand there's going to be times when I don't even know what I want from this situation. So sometimes it's better off just leaving it and we'll revisit it, because I'm going to be chatting a load of shit because I'm thinking of a million things in my head, and let's revisit it. Now the people I got around me are people that understood me throughout and have resurfaced back when I needed them, and now we're building again. So now I feel like it's on me to make that vision very clear and go out and get it. It's all about the vision. Where before, there was other stuff going on. Politics gets in the way. The more people you get, the more politics, the more ag you have. Now I'm on a clear path. And I'm forever grateful for everything that happened with Mallet. Like, I know it's going to sound mad to the average person. I don't have any bad blood about it. I don't have any bad blood, any bad feeling. I'm very thankful for everything that's happened, whether it was me going to court or me losing loads of money. I'm thankful for every single stage of my life. I promise you, hand on heart, I do not have one bit of bad blood here.
It goes back to the energy I said that I felt when you walked in, though. You're a glass half full guy. Yeah. And I think you can harness that. Your founder story with Mallet is like, you've literally seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of business. You've had a full circle moment, and you've experienced everything that can go great and that can go terribly wrong. And that's a competitive advantage going into your second business. I feel a lot of people, a lot of founders, a lot of people that are starting a business, they live in fear because they think that first business has to be the one that does it for them. And for a lot of people, it may be.
Yeah.
But the chances are it's not going to be. And there is an opportunity to go again with all the lessons, even if it's a business that you've built around your fucking name.
I know, yeah.
You can still go again.
Yeah. It's a tough one, man. But unless you've been there and you've done it yourself, it's not as bad as you feel, as you think. And what happens is, people would sit here and they'd probably articulate themselves a lot better than me on the textbook way of how things are dealt with, but they've not been involved in the dance yet. They ain't been there and actually lived it. I've lived it. Like, I have lived it. I've been through it. I've seen it. I've been to the peak and I've been down to the bottom. I've done it. And I enjoyed both of them. And that sounds mad. I enjoyed both of them. I enjoyed up the top and I enjoyed down the bottom. I enjoyed them. As I said, I don't have any bad feeling towards it. It's part of my life, part of my story, and I've loved every minute of it. Yes, I've been a few stages when I thought, oh, fuck, this needs to be over. This is consuming my life. But it only lasts 10 minutes. I'm straight back into the mode of where I needed to be to get the job done. And I only look at it just always challenges that need to be fixed. That's all I look at as everything. So now I'm coming out of this and I'm like, wow, I'm a different beast.
Tell me more about CTRNE.
CTRNE is the world's first crystal-infused sneaker brand. I'm basically infused sneakers with crystals that have been forming for thousands to millions of years, and they give off vibes of wealth, prosperity, abundance, creativity, and peace. I always loved it when people used to talk to me about these crystals, but I used to think if you carried crystals, you was a lunatic. I'll refer to Spencer Pratt from The Hills. I'll never forget saying to George, everyone used to say I look like him. What happened to him? She goes, he's a madman. He carries crystals. I'm fucking him that. I look like him and I'm him that. So what happened was I started getting...
The Hills is my guilty pleasure, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm the new Spencer. But what it was is, I just want to give good vibes out and show people that anything's possible. And the crystal for me is something which I can look down on, you can feel it, can touch it, and it reminds you why you started. And a lot of people go, oh, yeah, it don't work. Most of the people narrow-minded towards these things seem to be the ones that don't reach their full potential. To reach your full potential, you've got to be open to stuff. So I become open to it, and I like the vibes it gives me. And I was like, wow, this is cool. So then I go to LA to start doing a bit of like research. And I get there and I get to Equinox in LA and I'm like, whoa, there's crystals everywhere, man. These people love this. Like, this is phenomenal. Next thing you know, I own a brand which basically has crystals and the energy goes through the crystal into the bottom of your foot. And it's going to be £100 million the next 5 years.
Where do the crystals come from?
Brazil. So they're sourced in Brazil. We send them to China, to a place called the NGTC, which tests them.
How did you source these in Brazil?
That's what I'm saying. It's where the head just goes mad, doesn't it? I'm like, I had a vision in my head and I weren't stopping until I got it. So I'm like, I'm speaking to suppliers. I'm like, would you make jewelry? And then someone comes in with me who I'm friends with from China, who I've done some really good things for, really supported me, helped me. Next thing you know, it just happened. Things come together when they're meant to be. Always. You don't have any pushbacks when things are meant to be. And this happened flawlessly. So I'm like, well, I'm newly engaged. I'll never forget when I was buying George's diamond for a ring, I needed to get GIA certified to make sure it's the real deal. I want to do that with crystals. Can anyone do it for me? There's a place in China that does it. So every crystal in every sneaker has a card with it to tell you what it is, where it comes from, and how good it is. I can put diamonds in sneakers if I want. All of these little things just fell together and just ended up becoming CTRNE. And it was just literally me going through a bad time of me just wanting to create, to forget about what was going through in my life. I just lost a baby. I was going through madness at work. I just made a big investment of like 1.25 million back into the business that I personally thought, fuck it, I'm going to lose now because I'm going through this mad time. I thought, what can get me out of this? And I'm just sitting there just drawing constantly. And I'm sitting there, there's a crystal on the side of my in my office. And I'm getting like spiritual readings. They're telling me like I need to like do things for spirits. It was all mad. The timing was mad. And it just all ended up being flawless. Like, so one day I get a reading and the lady comes on the phone and she goes, oh, I've been waiting to talk to you. Your calling's not where you are right now. Your calling's changed. And your calling is to show everyone that anything's possible. And I was like, oh, lovely. I only know how to make shoes. She was like, no, you're making it with shoes. And she was like, you're going to put something in a shoe. And as I'm saying it, Like the sun shines on this yellow crystal, which is on my side. And I'm like, all right, come on, grab it. I'm get a knife. I start cutting a shoe. And I'm like, we're talking. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to do this. And as I'm fucking doing it, it just ends up becoming flawless. And it ends up becoming something that I'm obviously meant to be doing. And if you tell a normal person that, they're going to think I'm off my head, which I am. But I take the signs and make things out of them.
It goes back to the storytelling, man. I'm fucking sold on it. I'm sold.
Do you know the mad thing, yeah? Is I lost a friend in a car crash and I was like, felt like I had this presence in my house. So I called a psychic round. They was like, yeah, your friend's in your house. You need to drop him back to where you picked him up from. And I'm like, oh, mate, I've just had a baby. You can't be standing in front of my wife. Come on. She was like, no, just put him in the car and drop him back to where you stopped to pay your respects. I was like, it was 70 miles away. George is downstairs with a baby. Shut up. If she hears you speaking like this, she's going to think we are nutters, right?
When you put the spirit back in the car.
Yes. So next thing you know, I'm like, Georgia comes up the stairs. She's like, why are my Prada bags on the floor? And the psychic's like, because the boy that died in the Prada shirt threw him on the floor. I'm like, shut the fuck up. And Georgia's like, well, how do we get him out? She's like, you need to drop him back. And I'm like, she's like, let's go. So me, Georgia, get back in the car, put this guy in the front seat and drive back to where we picked him up from 70 miles away. And as I'm going there, the psychic goes, you need to give a message to his mum. I was like, I've never met his mum. She was like, don't worry, you'll meet her. And I was like, I've not met his mum. I've known him 20 years. I don't know his mum. Just don't worry, you'll meet her. So I've gone, all right, sweet. I've dropped him 70 miles away. Open a car door.
Mum's there.
Nah. He gets out. The spirit gets out. And I ring the psychic. I'm like, all right, I've done it now. You are a lunatic, and I feel like a lunatic. And now Georgia thinks we're both lunatics. Got my kid in the car. What the fuck? I was like, where's his mum now? She was, don't worry, you'll find her. So I'm like, all right, I'm dying for a piss. Drive down to the caravan, which my mum and dad have down the road. And I go to the caravan, they're not there. They're in like the local pub. So I drive to the local pub to get the key, to go back to the caravan and just chill for a little while. As I'm walking in the door, I get a tap on my shoulder from a lady. And she's like, oh, hello, I'm so-and-so's mum. I'm like, oh my fucking God. I'm like, I've got a message to tell you. I'm not going to say what the message was, but it was a deep message. I was like, I've been told to give you this message. And I was like, why are you here? I've known him 20 years. I've never met you. She was like, I just felt like I needed to get some answers. I was like, oh, here you go. Here's your answers. So then 2 years later, when this crystal's sparkling at me in the house, I'm thinking, the fuck is this crystal got in my house? I start looking back on my camera roll. That psychic that comes to my house that day left it on the side because she felt like I needed some clarity. And that's how the citrine crystal ended up in my office.
I got goosebumps again.
I know, it's mad. I know, and I find it really hard to tell the story because I don't want to, I sound mad when I'm telling it, but I can only tell it as it is. I had something going on in my house and someone needed a message being given. This psychic's here, big up Sarah, the psychic, and leaves something in my office for me that says it's going to give me mental clarity. And all I remembered seeing, I thought it was a bit of glass for 2 years. I was like, in my office, it's there. And every time the sun used to shine on it and I was going through hard times, I'd think, oh, don't worry, I'll go on holiday soon. And it sort of just used to be there. It was never a thing for me. And then 2 years later, this psychic saying, oh yeah, that yellow crystal in front of you, will do something with that. I'm like, you're on Zoom, how the fuck do you know what? There's a crystal behind me. It just all went in at the maddest time, man. And I find it tough to tell the story because you can never, like, I'm probably only telling half of it because I don't want to sound as mad as what I'm actually going to be if I tell the whole thing. Do you get what I mean, though?
I mean, yeah. I 100% do.
And the
like
main reason...
I can feel what you're saying.
It's nuts, isn't it? It's like, so imagine this. I'm going through a really tough time in my life. I've just lost a baby, yeah? The reason this psychic is actually on the phone to me is Georgia comes in one day. She goes, I'm going to speak to a psychic. And I'm like, whoa, why? She goes, because I need answers for what happened with this baby. I just really hope it wasn't a girl because she would really want a little girl and she wanted answers. So she goes, I'm going to speak to a psychic. I'm like, all right, if it makes you feel better, then do it. But I've always been around that my whole life. I've always had psychics and spoke to things like that. My mum was into it as a kid. It's always what I've been doing, right? So she comes back from this reading. She goes, we're going to be billionaires. I go, yeah, all right. But I hadn't been telling her what I was feeling because she had just lost a baby. She went, we're going to do, like, apparently you're about to really hit something. You're going to absolutely smash it. And I was like, I just broke down to her. I was like, George, listen, I'm going through a really tough time at the minute with Mallet. I don't think I can go any further, George. I feel like we're literally about to lose it all. And she went, why? And I explained it to her. She was like, let's lose it all then. And I was like, well, what's that reading about? How the fuck am I going to, me and you going to all of a sudden become multi if I feel like I'm about to lose it all? She was like, I'll speak to her then. So she was like, the woman's waiting list is months. And I was like, oh, well, I ain't got months, so get on the phone now. She gets on the phone and the woman was just like, listen, you are just different to anyone ever spoken. Like, it's crazy. What you're about to achieve is crazy, but you're about to go through it badly. And I was like, she was like, are you game to go through it? I was like, fuck it, let's go. And that was it. It started from there. It literally started from there. And after that conversation, how could I not do it? It was like, it was written for me. It was in my house. It was like, whether anyone believes it or not, that's my story. It was there in front of me.
I mean, the belief thing, all I can think about is like, if you have a fixed mindset towards what you're saying, just be like, this all just sounds like bullshit. If you can actually just open your mind up a little bit.
Yeah.
Why can't it be true?
I was there. I was there. I see it. It happened. It was in front of me. It was there. And then after that, it flawlessly become a sneaker brand.
What does CTRNE mean? As in, like, how did you come up with that brand?
So the crystal was actually in my office that day is a CTRNE crystal. CTRNE is old French for citrus, and they call it CTRNE citrus because of the color of it. It's like a cool yellow color, which brings like summer vibes and always makes you feel uplifted. And that crystal gives you wealth, prosperity, abundance, creativity, and it's been used in Chinese culture for years. So if you go to China, you can see they leave it on their cash registers. And they do it because they want the wealth to be attracted to their cash register. And I'd seen it for years. I just didn't really know much about it. So when I was naming the brand, I was like, well, I need to stick it true to what it is. It's a CTRNE crystal. So I removed the eyes and that's how CTRNE was born. And it's been flawless, man. It has been flawless. It was like, no matter what I've been going through, it's just been something which I've been able to turn back on and just feel happy. And it's flying. It's flying. It's just all of a sudden flying.
Last business related question, then we'll move on to kind of fitness, routine, and a bit of mental health as well, as soon as we touched on it. How's your attitude towards sort of success, money, having come from nothing, achieved a lot, having all, I mean, on the face of things, having all the money in the world to do with what you want to do and then losing it all? Like, how's your attitude changed with your experiences there? Or has it changed?
No, it has, man. Because I've had, like, even though I've gone through a really tough year, this year, my missus is pregnant and she's having a little girl, and I prayed for that. And when I was praying for it, I would just, if they would have said, all right, we can lose all your money and get given this little girl, or you don't get a little girl and you keep everything, I would have said all day long, take everything and give me this little girl. So this little girl's here now. So that was all I wanted. So I need to, like, really appreciate what I've been given, yeah? And that has really taught me so much, because no matter what's going on around me in my life, I look at my missus, pregnant, happy, and go, that's all I wanted.
Did you have gratitude before?
Of course. Of course. Like, it's a big part of my life. But like, what I've learned is to take it onto a different scale. Before, I would say, I'm thankful in advance for what's about to come to me. Now, I'd say, I had a shit day, thank you. I learned today a lot from that. I won't make that mistake again. Thank you for showing me the way today. Thank you for that. My gratitude is so much different to before. All I've got to do is look at my little boy smile and know that I'm the richest man on earth. Anything around that is just in between, innit? Like, that's my main priorities, my children and my wife, yeah? But then all the other stuff, it just keeps me sane. As a creator, I just need to have something going on all the time, and I want to tell stories and I want to inspire. The money side of it just comes with the success. I'm going to be honest, I don't really miss that much. I really don't. Because when I had loads of money, I was fat. I was like out of shape. I was fat. I felt shit about myself. I didn't know the answers. I weren't that happy. Now it's like I'm ready to start again. I've lost weight. I'm happy. I've got a great family and I understand how my head works, and I'm just so thankful. So I'm going into the next part of my life. Like, I've already won. I can't lose. What can I lose? I've won. Anything else is a bonus, but I just need to keep going for my own mental sanity to give the best, because that's what I need in my life every day, to just give my best and just build. That's all I care about, that and family.
What role, you mentioned Georgia, what role has sort of your relationship with her played on your career as an entrepreneur? And
she's a lunatic, innit? It's like, I go to her and we had it all one day and I'm like, George, we're going to lose it. She's like, oh, whatever. I'm like, what? If I had a woman at home who was, oh, what about the Chanel bags? I wouldn't have been able to function properly because I'd have been constantly worrying that the woman at home is worried about what the next steps are. She's not done that. She's like, I've got trust, go and do what you need to do. That for me is not having extra pressure from my wife to go, oh, when are we going to have enough money for us to go and do this and this? It's just let me go and get on with it. Whereas I can imagine a lot of people have to go home and explain to their wife and their wife goes, no, don't make that decision. We might lose that and we ain't going to have our 3 holidays a year. My missus don't care. She does not give a shit. She is just like, you do you, man. Trust her. And that for me has given me a lot of confidence to be able to go and be the best version of me. And it's also made me want to do better for her because she don't ask me for nothing. No, she don't ask me for nothing. Like, I'll give her stuff. I'll never forget, I pulled up in that Ferrari, yeah? She's like, oh, that's nice. What happened to the other one? She don't care. It don't impress her. And she's just so chilled out. She's like, yeah, nice car. She don't make me feel like I have to impress with money. She's more about me being present in times and stuff like that. So that has helped me as an entrepreneur because I don't feel like it's all about showing the wealth. It's all about just being present and being an entrepreneur for me is what my goal is. So yeah, I owe a lot to her. She's been good for me.
It's powerful because from the outside looking in, you never know this dynamic, right? You never know how she is, how you are towards these things. So,
do you know what? I'm going to be honest. Just to summarise mine and Georgia's relationship, I can't remember the last time I see Georgia wearing makeup, man. I can't remember the last time I actually see her wearing proper clothes. It's normally pajamas, man, and tracksuits.
She's pregnant, bro. Give her
but I'm saying, but we've always been like that together. We're not like trying to be anyone we ain't. We've fully accepted what we love doing as a family, and that's it. We don't. That's our life together now. We love it. We love just doing normal things and being normal people. And I think by having someone like that next to me, makes me feel like I don't have to worry too much about how much money's coming, so I can actually worry about other things, which is the product and building these companies instead of cashing out of them at the right time. So she's been great, man.
I got home from a run this morning, having done quite a lot of thinking this morning, my morning run. And I said to Lauren, my wife, I said, so long as I've got you, all this other shit doesn't really matter.
It doesn't, man.
And it feels as though you've got the similar sort of dynamic.
It doesn't, man. But you have to take losses to understand that. And you really need to get like slapped in the face to realise what's important. Because when you're young and you're earning lots of money, nothing else matters apparently, until you start losing things around you that money can't fix. And then you realise that shit, there's more to this. And I need to change the way that I'm thinking. And things have to be different. So having that balance is really important as an entrepreneur. It's not about the money. The money comes after. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing it to spread a message, to show people that it's possible and inspire generations. That's why I'm here. I want to change my family's life forever. I want to put something in place that means all of them can aspire to be something. It's not just money. The money comes and goes. And the money's cool for a moment and it's really good to solve a few financial problems. But apart from that, it don't really do that much. If you don't have peace and health, you don't got nothing. So peace and health come before everything else, and then the rest after. So that's it.
Mate, you're fucking saying some bangers. You're one of the best guests I've had on, man.
But it's just, look. Yeah,
but like, that's what I mean. That's why I was so excited to have you on, is because your experiences as even on social media, with personal brand, with success, with followers, with fame, with money, with business, like you've seen it all at a young age. And I think your perspective is so valuable. Let's keep going, because you said some really powerful things about your, and I can see the energy and the smile coming on your face when you talk about your son and your daughter to be.
I could cry when I think of it. It's so mad. It's the weirdest thing. When I think of what I've got, yeah, I'm overwhelmed with it. I feel so lucky. I feel so lucky. Like every single day. When my son tells me something about his day, I just feel overwhelmed. I just feel like, how could I be so lucky? I didn't have that money. Like, I'm welling up speaking about this. I've never had this with money. This is new. This is crazy, man. I love them so much. And I did neglect them to an extent because of money. So fuck all that.
Did you at some stage?
Yeah, I feel like.
Did you feel? Because I felt this as an entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it. When I was so fixated on building a business, and I was kind of very early on in my journey, my wife fell pregnant with Leo, my first son. And for the first 5 months, I've used the word resentment. It's a terrible word to use, and I don't mean it in its truest sense, but like I felt as though this distraction had come along to take me away from the path that I was on.
Oh, of course. That mate. I don't remember the last few years even because it's such a whirlwind, yeah? But there was parts of me where it was like, all right, I'm going out with Georgia and the baby, and I am literally, before I sorted my ADHD out and things, you see I was filming a show. Mate, I weren't there, man. I was elsewhere because I looked at them and I wanted everything from them, but I just thought it was money they needed. I didn't realise it was me they needed. So my drive was to make sure they've got everything they need. And like, before the time I knew it, they had all the money in the world, but they never had me. And I can't let that happen. And I'm so happy that I fixed it quick. It's like, and now it's just all about how I can just be there for them and accept that it's the biggest blessing ever and anything else is on top. And I'm a walking contradiction when I speak. Yeah? I'm not a straightforward person. I'd say how my drive overtakes everything, but really the drive is just me, but the family part is what matters. But my drive is just for me to keep my sanity. Yours is going to be going for a run, yeah? And you go and do 20 kilometers in mental time. Mine is creating. It's like my fix for me to carry on. But when it all comes down to it, if I have to lose it all right now for my family, I'd do it.
100%. I mean, the shift, like I say, with me, the kids wasn't on the roadmap. It wasn't in the plan when we fell pregnant with Leo. So it took me there was this transition period where I had to get used to the fact that, you know, this kid was on the way. But then when it happens, you can't, there's nothing else that matters.
Nothing.
And I was literally like, can we have the next? And it was like Enzo, and then it's like, can we have that? And now we've got 3, and I'm like, oh, I just want to, like, it's just the biggest blessing in the world.
It is. And I think, like, after losing, I think that the biggest wake up call in my life was when Georgia lost the baby. Because for the man, it's never as bad as it is for the woman, because the woman's connected and holding the baby, yeah? And the baby was 3 months when we lost the baby, and Georgia was so excited about it. So it was more so watching her struggle really affected me. But after seeing that, I was like going into the hospital quite frequently and seeing how common it was for people losing babies. But then also seeing how hard it is to actually fall pregnant. So seeing that and being around that constantly really made me appreciate, like, I've got Brody and that is it. Like, I'm so lucky to have this kid. And then from then, my mindset changed. And I think the mindset is everything. And learning for me. And what I've learned over the last few years is crazy, man.
Last one on sort of relationships. We've done, you know, wife, kids. Is there any other, there's no point mentioning business partners, but is there any other kind of role that key figures of in the kind of family members, partners, business people, anyone that's mentors, anyone that's played a role? Any value there, do you think, for you?
In my life?
I know your relationship with it is probably tarnished with previous experiences, but
no.
Do you feel as though pulling people along for the journey?
No, I think what got me to what I was, to where I was my relentless mindset and not listening to what people would say. I don't feel like I had anyone that give me really the, like, experienced and helped me.
Do you think this is only topical because of something that happened last week when I was in Dubai, around British culture and success? Do you feel as though people just you think it was hard to build in the UK because people just aren't that supportive of?
People like to see you do well, but not better than them. Mm-hmm. And then you end up going to a stage where, I personally felt this, when you become bigger, people around you, not family and not really close friends, but other people, be like, oh, all he does is talks about work. All he does is trains. And deep down, then all they want is to do what you're doing. And you feel that over here. You feel like it's very, very hard. It's very, very hard in the UK, I feel, to talk to people about goals, because there's a negative push on it. And there's no way on this planet would let anyone put me off something that I'm destined to do, ever. So a lot of the time I don't speak about it. But I think I've gone past that now because I've done it. And people have seen me do it. So now a lot of the time people come to me and go, how did you do it? Whereas before they would go, oh, it's never going to work. Imagine I listened to them. Like, these are people that I had around me. Who'd go, oh, mate, maybe you're working too hard here, or maybe that ain't going to work. Imagine I actually listened to them people. I'd never have done what I've done. I'd never have this knowledge. So I just try and be careful who I share what I'm going to do with, and try not to lean on people too much, because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to say a name, but I lent on someone and they were supposed to be the people to guide me, and they're the ones that put me in this situation I'm in because a contract went wrong. And then people was the ones that were supposed to like help me build what I was out there to build. It was the one time I leaned on someone and it put me in a shit situation. I'm dealing with it now. So I just got to be careful, man. If you've got a vision, you can't, I just don't feel like if I'm the one with this vision for a reason, not them. So I'm going to be the one to build on it.
You've been quite open about, I think you said you're 24 when you come on air on TV and talk about your mental health struggles. How have you managed to sort of cope with them? Is it still go on? It's obviously a big thing, particularly with founders, entrepreneurs, and just in society.
The first thing that I ever experienced with mental health was, I've not told anyone this, by the way, is I felt I was doing everything for everyone in terms of business, and I weren't getting nothing back from certain people. And it was always where people would stop me in any meeting and go, why you always the one us here? Or why you always the one us putting all the work in? And I used to go, oh, it's just how it is. And then times changed, and I might have built a little bit of a resentment up, I think, to that. And I think it becomes stress, and I didn't know how to deal with stress at the time. So then that stress ended up into being a breakdown. And I'll never forget, one morning I woke up, Georgia said, you getting up? And I was like, I was mad overweight. I was 115 kilos. I was smoking. I was like having a drink every now and then, not too much though. And I said, George, I can't do this no more. She said, what do you mean? I was like, I think I've had a stroke. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, I can't move. My body's stuck. So she was, and then I just burst out crying. I'm on the floor. I'm like, oh, I can't deal with this. She's like, what can't you deal with? I was like, it's just, I'm doing everything. I'm not getting no help. She was like, but you know that's how this is supposed to be. I was like, I know, but people are moving forward their lives and having kids and starting to do things, and I'm just here. I'm literally just working for everyone. I'm like, I can't take this no more. So she rings my dad. My dad comes round. I'll never forget, he sat down, he put his arm around me. What's the matter, boy? I went, I can't do this, Dad. And he went, all right, let's go hospital. So I went to a hospital, and the woman was like, whoa, you ain't had a stroke. This is stress. Stress has brought you here. How old are you? And I was like, 24. She was like, no, life changed now. You need to change your life. So I thought it was depression, yeah? So I started pushing the depression narrative out to people of like how to make yourself feel better from experience I had got. I'd become big on juicing, so I was drinking green juice. I'd big on going to the gym and just walking or running 10K every day. And I really started turning my life around. But little did I know, it was stress, and the ADHD was the thing pulling me back because I was taking everything so personal. So I thought after that was a really, really big duty of mine to push this to people, to let them know sometimes you're not depressed. Sometimes you're just in the wrong situation and you're not being appreciated right. And then if you've got ADHD, it's making you overthink it 1,000,000 hours an hour. Next thing you know, it's 5 a.m. and I'm thinking, why is this fucker doing that? And then I'm doing everything. And it turned me into this mad like monster. And thank God Georgia and my family stood by me and got me out of it. So then I stopped that and then sort of neglected it again. And then I got to 2021 or 2022, and then it just fell apart again. Everything fell apart for me. It was like I was wealthy, I had everything, I had Brody, and I just resented Georgia. I had that with her family, and everything was leading to them. It was their fault. And I'm like, Georgia was like, Tom, you got something wrong with you severely, you know? I was like flying to Spain, buying a couple £1 million villas, coming home saying, here you go, we've got a house now. We're moving over there. And she's like, why am I moving there with you? You're a monster. All you do is talk about work and fucking can't even have a conversation. Why would I be anywhere near you? And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, you are nothing like I used to be. You literally need help. So I was like, go and fuck yourself then. We'll leave it here, right? And then we split up. And lucky I didn't leave the house. But he was like, I'm going. So I was like, I'm moving. And then she was like, yeah, see you later. I'll never forget, I was driving down the M25 one day. Everyone else is their problem. It's not me. It's everyone else. I'm not the problem. It's everyone else. And nothing to do with me. Everyone else is the one pulling me down. Get a phone call from Georgia. Tom, before we do this and we leave each other and make your kid come from our house, which is broken, yeah? Would you go and get checked for ADHD? I said, I'm not that excited, George. I'm not a naughty kid. She's like, that's not what ADHD is. ADHD means that you become obsessed with things and you can't regulate your emotions and you want everything now and you go through these stages. So I was like, will it stop my family from breaking apart? She said, yes. I was like, fine. So I went and had a sit down with this guy and he was like, oh yeah, you got it. Probably the worst I've ever seen anyone come in here with it. What do you do? And I told him, he was like, well, that's fucking mental that you've actually built a business with the way you've got it. So I went on tablets, and by going on the tablets, they made me see clearer for the normal person. So I understand things. I understand that you don't have to act crazy all the time. It's time and a place. You need to listen to people. You have to think if someone's having a bad day, well, what's going on in their life? It's not about you. When you got ADHD, you feel like everything is so personal towards you. Someone would bib me in the morning, and I'll overtake them and pull out in front of them and pull them out of the car and batter them. Like, that's how I felt all the time. Don't give a fuck who it is. If you do something that pisses me off, say like a big man walks in a gym and starts throwing the weights around me, I'd make that my mission to want to put the weight around his head. That's how my life become. But then after taking the tablets and doing work on myself, I'd like, oh, hold on, that geezer's probably big like that because he's scared because something might have happened to him when he was a kid. That woman might have just bibbed me because she's late to get to hospital to see her family's dying. I didn't take anyone else's feelings into account. So by getting this ADHD diagnosis and going through the tablets, it helped me open my eyes and see things so much clearer. And by doing so, it made me a better person. And I always said I'd always push the narrative out to people. I'm not saying that people need to get medicated. I think people just need to have the right to understand how their brain functions so they can get the best of them out there. And that's what I've done. I'm not on no tablets now. And I feel so open and I know how my brain works and I feel amazing. And I think everyone deserves that. No one deserves to be in their own head. It's not a good place to be, man. Painful.
That's fucking powerful.
It's a painful place, man.
Do you feel that first experience at 24 was the stress? Would you regard that as sort of a burnout period?
Yeah, I always asked God to give me signs. I always used to pray and ask him to give me signs. And that was the sign to slow down and look what I had around me. Because I nearly lost it all twice now. I nearly lost my family twice.
How you describe 24 was exactly what happened to me at 28, but I didn't balloon up in weight. I lost all my weight. I went from like 87 kilos down to like 77 kilos, which is
wow.
Like, 9 kilos down where I am now. I'd gone from being this like macho rugby player to a rake and just retracted, just burnt out. Man. I mean, I could get out of bed, but the way I describe it is like I was alive, but I was dead. Like there was no feeling.
Nothing. And it happens, man. And it happens to so many people. And what I'm upset about all of this, yeah, is I can see people self-destructing now through gambling, drugs and alcohol. And they're chasing dopamine through stuff that they shouldn't be chasing when there's so many different natural ways to do it. And mine has been fitness.
I was going to say, how do you stop yourself going back there? Because I think it is cyclical. Like my experiences first with it was at 28. I experienced it again in 2022, so I would have been 32. With every experience, you gain a bit more perspective and understanding about yourself, about the situation you find yourself in and how to cope. And you're right in the sense that with some of these things, like if you've got a vision or a way of trying to do something, there's no one that can really help you other than experience, and experience kind of then shows you the way. I'm sure it might happen to me again, right? As you build, I'm sure it might happen to you again. But what can you put in place that everyone has access to that you feel as though?
But I'm going for it now, actually. So this is my lowest I've been for a year. It'd be quite hard to feel that, yeah?
Can't wait to spend time with you when you're high.
Yeah, because it's like everything has come to a head now. And the baby's coming next in 2 weeks. My injunction's over. I can run my brand as I want to. I'm like, all the build up, bang, you're there. And you're like, whoa. It's like when Tyson Fury builds up for a fight, wins, and then after, he's like, done, because he's got nothing to fight for. You can sort of feel it coming. And then, for example, mine would be like this week, I've not been to the gym as much. I'd probably just play paddle this week. And I know that I should be in there pushing weight. I know that I should be doing it because I know that it can pull me out of this, but I'm struggling to get in there. But I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, life's over from it. So, all right, cool. You need a few days. Eat what you need to eat. Do what you need to do. Next week, get yourself back. And that's how I've learned to get through these situations. You got to give yourself time. You got to work on how you feel at the moment. And once you understand how to feel it and where it's going, you can navigate through it. So like now, I'm going through a stressful time. Got a little girl on the way, can't wait. So that's there to. I've got all the greatness coming. I'm going through a lot of emotions. So fine, let me just put everything on hold for a few days. No business because I carry on smashing that. But then just try and take the intensity off a little bit. And that there has actually helped me in so many different situations. And life don't have to always be so intense. It will be there if you want a week off, it will be there. And that is where I feel the burnout comes from. It's the fear of losing it all. And it's the fear of thinking too far in front. Because if you live in the future, you'll get anxious. If you live in the now, you can just work on day to day. So I do work on the future a lot. But when I feel like it's getting too much for me, I take a step back and I live in the now. And I'm like, my reality right now, what do I do today? And that's where I'm at right now. And I feel like I'm doing all right of it. Not bad. So I can still get things going.
I think you've got a level of perspective and self-awareness, like I say, through all those lived experiences that hopefully the listeners can draw upon, because there's people that listen to this podcast at various different stages of their life, whether they're just trying to find out how to find their way with relationships, business, sport, whatever their careers, whatever it may be. I think there's been so much power. I think we've touched on quite a lot of what's next, but is there anything you want to put out to the world to say that this is, you're someone who believes in the more spiritual side of things?
No, that's done. So the way I look at it is this year, I can see where this is. It's done.
Go on.
It's already done, man. It's one of the biggest footwear brands in the world. It's done. I can see it. If I can see it, it's done. I've done this before, yeah? So it's nothing I've never said I was going to do something and not do it. Ever. It's not in my blood. I can't do that. I've said I'm going to get something, I am there. Yeah, and I can see it, I can feel it, I can touch it, I know where it is. My main priority now is to make sure I stay there for my family and don't lose that relationship because I'm trying to push this too much. So right now is staying happy, staying fit, and building the way I want to build. And I honestly can see the next 5 years. I'll do 100 million in the next 5 years. My valuation will be 100. So where are we? 2024. Now I think I'll do it before that. I'll get to 100 million faster than most people ever could imagine. I'm going to document it to show people it's possible. And I'm going to keep spreading good vibes. And I'm going to stay open to conversations to help people at the same time, because I feel like that's a big thing as well. You don't go through all this to just keep it yourself. It's my duty to make sure that if you're going through it, you'll be fine. But you need to take the steps today to make sure you become better. My one is always, as I said, fitness for me is always going to be the thing which is the hardest thing. I love a six-pack.
We'll get you one.
I'd love a six-pack.
That's done now.
I'd love a six-pack, but the other things come first. So like realising this is a good thing that I've done for my mental health, yeah? This is what I'd always think. Family, six-pack, fitness, money, success, da-da-da-da-da. All now. And then I go, whoa, we can't do all that at once. Start with the family, get the business building, and in the meantime, chip away at your fitness goal. And since I've done that, I've stayed the weight that I want to stay, instead of trying to just rock it everywhere. So I'm just enjoying the moment, man. I'm enjoying the moment. I'm enjoying the now. And I'm enjoying showing people what I can see in the next 4 to 5 years, which will be an absolute phenomenal. Like no one's seen anything like it.
Tommy, I've been watching the journey, I'd say close enough, like to get to the stage where I fucking was desperate to have you on the podcast. You've been everything I wanted it to be and more.
Oh, really?
I'll be watching a lot closer now because I'm inspired by everything you said, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. Honestly, it means the world. Thank you.
Appreciate you, bro.
Thank you.